drugs, sex and violence. The city breathed chaos at night. Neon lights flickered through the rain-soaked streets, casting a grim glow over the dark corners where life twisted into something else, something raw, broken, and desperate. Marco was no stranger to this world. His reputation as a dealer in the underbelly of the city was well earned. He moved weight from pills to powders with an efficiency that made him untouchable. But the life came with its own poison, and tonight Marco was on the verge of slipping into a pit he wouldn't be able to crawl out of. He sat in his apartment, eyes bloodshot, as a half-empty bag of cocaine lay sprawled across the table. He snorted another line, feeling the rush shoot through his veins, dulling the sharp edges of his thoughts. His phone buzzed. It was Carla, his girl, or at least the woman he spent most of his nights with. She was trouble from the beginning, a whirlwind of beauty, broken dreams, and addictions of her own. Carla sauntered in, her lips painted blood red, wearing a short leather skirt that clung to her curves. Marco could feel the tension in the air. She was high on something too, and that always meant trouble. "You got more of the good stuff?" she asked, her voice sultry but hollow. "Depends," Marco muttered, his eyes narrowing. He slid her a small bag, but his mind was elsewhere. There was something off about tonight. A new crew had moved into the block, taking over corners that Marco once owned. Violence was inevitable. He knew that. There was no diplomacy in the drug game, only blood and power. Carla, oblivious or simply uninterested, leaned over and kissed him hard, her lips tasting like smoke and danger. The two of them fell into the bed in a haze of lust and chemicals, their bodies colliding in a primal need to escape the gnawing emptiness that chased them both. But as soon as it was over, the world outside came crashing in. The knock on the door was loud, too loud. Marco's instinct screamed at him to grab his gun. He pulled away from Carla and slipped his piece from under the couch. His heart pounded. He knew it was them, the new crew. They weren't coming to negotiate. "Stay quiet," he hissed to Carla, who had already lit a cigarette, seemingly oblivious to the danger. The door crashed open. 3 men stormed in, guns drawn. Marco barely had time to react before bullets started flying. He dove behind the couch, returning fire, but it was chaos. The room exploded with violence. Furniture shattered, glass broke, and the sound of gunshots echoed through the walls. Carla screamed, ducking down as bullets flew overhead. Marco hit one of the men in the chest, dropping him instantly, but the other 2 kept coming. Blood smeared across the floor, mixing with the remnants of their forgotten high. In the chaos, Marco felt a sharp pain tear through his side. He had been hit, but adrenaline pushed him forward. He fired again and again until the last of the attackers fell to the ground, lifeless. Silence filled the room, broken only by the labored breathing of Marco and Carla. Blood seeped through Marco's shirt, but he barely noticed. Carla looked at him, eyes wide, her body trembling. "What now?" she whispered. Marco stared at the carnage around him. He had lived this life for years, but now it all felt like a hollow shell, as if the drugs, the sex, and the violence had swallowed him whole. There was no turning back. He wiped the blood from his hands and looked at Carla, knowing that this was their life now, a cycle of destruction that wouldn't end until it consumed them both. He stood up, wincing in pain, and whispered, "We run." But deep down he knew there was no running from this. The streets never let you go.